Hey everybody, Bob Chick for MD. We are here at the Junior National Championships. We're in Chi-Town. As always, it's raining outside. All kinds of different conventions going on next to us. But I'm here with David Baye and IFBB superstar Don Long in the house. How you doing, Don?
I'm doing good, hanging out, enjoying the atmosphere, enjoying the bodybuilding show. So it was a really good show today. So
you've always got a pretty good team at these shows, Don. How many you got in there today?
We had 6 in this show today, so not too many, but 6 decent athletes that we had in here. One is doing, a couple of them doing really well. So happy with the results so far. So
all right, very good. David Baye down there in the pit all day. It's split over 2 days, so a little bit easier this time. By the way, glad you could dress up for the event.
Thank you.
A little bit nicer.
My luggage came.
Clashing.
I drove, so I didn't have to worry about it.
Clashing as we are, but that's okay. All right, David, give me some rundown. Split into 2, so like I said, all you had was men's bodybuilding, which went pretty quick this morning.
Yeah, it did.
And men's physique, which obviously just wrapped up. So how you seen the men's bodybuilding?
Men's bodybuilding, I was actually pretty impressed for the most part. Numbers weren't up. It's one of the things the guys are going to talk about. Numbers are down. They were definitely down. Had a big heavyweight class, decent size. I think light heavies were okay. Some of the other classes not so good. But there was definitely some quality here. And the one thing we did see this year was a couple guys who you look at on stage and you think that's a guy who could be a professional bodybuilder. So that was good.
Let me go to Don quick on this because we talk about a changing of the times all the time, Don, and then versus now and all that.
Yeah.
This is not a pro qualifier for the guys.
True.
It's for the ladies, so obviously that would account for the bigger numbers, of course. But these numbers were huge back in the day. I mean, I won this thing 28 years ago this week. But back then, the Junior Nationals was, considered a pretty good show where you had to, but it was a rite of passage to go to the Nationals. A lot of the guys didn't even go to the Nationals or the USA unless they went through the juniors.
Exactly. I mean, because I can remember even myself, it was at least 30 in my class, and you didn't even, if you didn't make the top 15, you didn't even go out and do your mandatory posing. So that's how many people that it was. And then granted, they didn't have as many athletes competing in the show at the time, so time wasn't really the issue. But now you don't even have 30 people in a class in these shows. But once again, today I did see some, I did see some good quality in the show. So I was still pleased with some of the quality that was brought here as I was out.
Sure, it's interesting to me because I see that people get nationally qualified and they think it's automatic pass to the Nationals or the USA, and for some odd reason shows like this one seem to get skipped over, and I'm not so sure that's a good idea sometimes because we go to the Nationals and the USA and we see a whole bunch of people and I think to myself, now there's a guy that probably should have been at the juniors, seeing where he was. Wasn't it Paul DeMeo that did this show like 4 times back in the day, and his mentality was, if I ain't good enough to win the Junior Nationals, I got no business on a national stage. So he actually stuck in here until he won it, and then he went to the Nationals.
And that should be the standard. I tell athletes all the time, go to this show because this is where you really get to compete against national level people. And then sometimes people want to skip by this show and then go to the Nationals, and that's why when we get to the Nationals, we have a lot of people that shouldn't be there. This is your marker. If you can't place honestly in the top 2 or 3 here, there's no need to go to the next level. I would say at least top 2 or 3. Because sometimes teams get kind of flip of a coin and maybe a guy could have won here, but at least top 2 or 3 before you think about going to the bigger shows. Otherwise, you can basically, because honestly, even the winner here sometimes has to hope for maybe top 10 at the Nationals or the USA. It's just that simple. That's his hope for there. Most time, every now and then you get a Phil Heath that can come out here and go straight in and win, but most time a guy here that plays first, he's going to looking for a top 5 or top 6 at the national show. So and that says it in itself. So if you place in like 6th or 7th in a show like this, or you didn't even do this show, there's no need to go to the next level, I believe. So.
Well, didn't we have that play out just last year, David? I remember that we were here. We were interviewing the winner, Dorian Haywood. Now he went on to the USA. Different story there.
Didn't fare so good. Dorian won here last year on a combination of everything. Wasn't the biggest guy, wasn't leanest, had real good structure, but he had just enough of everything to pull off the win. He went to the USA's, and we had talked about our Junior Nationals wrap-up video whether he was going to fare well there. I think he may have been right at the edge of the top 10, 9th or 10th. I'd have to look back, but he definitely wasn't in the top 5. It was a much deeper show. So as you guys said, even as a Junior National overall champion, he wasn't he wasn't a guy that was in the running for a pro card at the USA's.
But I saw coming from a mile. I knew, even though he was a good bodybuilder, right when he was talking about going there, I knew he wouldn't do well, at a show like that. But once again, he's still a great bodybuilder. He probably needed more time to go, like maybe come around to the next Nationals or something like that. That's probably what he should have done, But like I said,
in his defense, he won, so it's kind of tough to tell a guy, look, you just won this, maybe you should wait. So we'll give him a break on that. But that just shows you the difference of quality between a Junior National show, and that's how much higher it goes when you get to the USA. So that USA, of course, coming up just a few weeks now, 6 weeks. I just ran into Sergio, our good friend, was down in the lobby. So he's getting ready for the USA, looking large, looking in charge, and says he's going to bring it all home.
Yeah, as far as, Sergio did all right here last year, was a super heavyweight, not quite as lean as he needed to be. Hopefully we'll see him really dial it in at the USA's. As far as the supers go, interesting class, and Don and I were talking about this, and I might get a little bit of heat on the boards for this. There's only 4 guys.
Take the heat, Dave. Take the heat.
There was only 4 guys. But I thought it was a good thing because there wasn't any super heavyweight that came out where you instantly are like, that guy probably has never won a local show,
right.
Or he could drop to heavyweight. I think all the guys, I was actually working out on Thursday in the Hotel Fitness Center with one of the guys that was in the supers. I think all those guys are probably 6'2", 6'3". Yeah. We had one guy who did win the overall at a big show in Illinois, Nate St. Dennis. He had to be 6'5", 6'6". Hey. So none of the guys, there wasn't an Evan Centopani or a Cedric McMillan or something like that who's going to go on to the national level. These guys all need to put on a lot of size, but out of the 4, there wasn't anybody who was a disappointment. And just a few weeks ago at Junior USA's, it was the complete opposite. There was one super heavyweight that was there that was impressive, and everybody else, without being too much of an ass, shouldn't have even gotten on the plane. But so the supers were good.
Don, you're 4th place in the supers. Are you 4th or are you last?
You're 4th.
Don, the glass is always half full with Don.
Going down to the heavyweights was a really competitive class. There were a lot of guys. It was really deep, even into the second call-outs. There were some guys that I know in the second call-outs that have won overalls at some pretty big shows in the spring season of the MPC. Our top 3 there, 3 gentlemen we did interviews with before the shows. Christian Salcedo, he won, I believe, the Atlantic States heavyweights in the overall a few weeks ago. He was put in the middle. He was the one guy, and I said this on the forums. To me, you look at that guy and you're like, with a few more pounds, this guy is a professional bodybuilder, and it was nice to see that at this show. There's somebody that really jumped out at you. And even the other 2 guys, Don and I had talked about it, that were on his left and right. Justin Mackey, who was a light heavyweight last year at the USA's, was in the first call-out, and Nate Dusek. 3 really good heavyweights who all have a lot of potential, I think.
And it did, like he said, it went a little deeper where a couple other guys were actually pretty good in that class too. So overall, the heavyweight class was really good. I thought, some good bodies in there.
I thought the quality was definitely in the heavies too, which was good to see. I think your eventual overall winner, we'll see that tonight, more than likely going to come from that heavyweights. Not uncommon, of course. No. Supers, like I say, 4 guys that were decent, but certainly nobody with enough muscle mass to take on the heavyweight.
And when we moved down into the light heavyweight class, there were some really good light heavyweights. One of Don's guys, James Robbins, not the most aesthetic or the biggest guy, but he was peeled, and the judges definitely showed him love on his conditioning. And it was kind of an apples and oranges in that class. The other 2 guys, they had one guy who was really short, Stephen Wayne or Juan. I mean, this guy was huge. I don't know how he made weight in the light heavyweights. If you go stand next to him, he's probably 5'2". And then there was another guy, Tony Boucher, real thick, a little bit more balanced than the other guy, but not quite as peeled as James. But light heavyweight's another good class with some quality competitors.
Don, give me a rundown on your guy there in the light heavies as the coach.
Yeah, once again, this guy's a workhorse, and I really appreciate his work ethic because he doesn't have the best, flowing physique, and sometimes he's even a little stiff with his posing. But in the gym, and when I talk to him, it's just you tell him what to do, and he literally does. And I know it's kind of cliche. You can say that all the time, but I really mean it about this guy. He's a very hard worker, and then his condition shows, because of that. He just really worked hard, did everything I said, never asked questions, and even when other people might have been questioning him in his hometown, he said, "No, I'm just listening to Don because he told me this story." But so I'm really proud of him and what he brought here. And coming into the show, he said, I'm seeing him in person and I'm seeing pictures, and I knew he would be in shape. But when he got on stage, it was even better than what I thought it would be. So when you walk out and you know right away when that hardness hits that stage, you can tell he was in shape. So I knew he was in a good place at that point. So
where do you think he's going to be tonight, Don?
I think he ended up in the middle. So I'm hoping that he'll be able to squeeze it out. So
might take the win.
Exactly. And then granted, he was hoping to come here and get top 5. So I'm sure he's going to be elated if he gets first place. So
all right, we'll see if Don's guy is in the hunt for the big title tonight.
A couple more guys dropping down in the middleweights. We're going the opposite direction we usually know. There was 3 really good middleweights too, and the middleweight's another deep class. The judges, Steve Weinberger, head judge, flip-flopped the top 3 guys around. So it's going going to be hard to say where they're all at. We had Seth Swenson. Lewis and I were doing a little bit of the play-by-play. This guy came out and by himself looked fantastic. Everything was, I mean, he was in great shape, huge legs, everything, and I called right away. I'm like, nobody's going to beat this guy. And then we had a couple other guys, Valentino Harris, a Wisconsin guy, and Vlad Petrick, guy from out east. They looked really good in their free posing too. They brought him out for prejudging, and as soon as they did, it was the classic guy looks good by himself. And that's not to say he didn't look good on stage, but he was definitely narrower. They bounced him around a lot. Vlad, the widest of the middleweights. Valentino Harris, again, Wisconsin guy. I got to say that a few times. He looked fantastic. Valentino ended up in the middle. Needs to have a little bit bigger legs, but his upper body is exactly where it needs to be. He dropped from light heavyweights at the local shows he did in Wisconsin that he was winning to really up the conditioning for junior nationals, and it paid off for him.
All right, round out the bottom of the weight classes, David.
The bottom of the weight class is one of the guys Don and I had talked about earlier, and this, it's hard for the lighter guys to win overalls at shows like this, and there was a very good heavyweight, so I'm not going to call this kid as the overall winner. His second show only, his coach was behind us, Derek Lunsford. I think he's 20 or 21, came out, looked absolutely fantastic.
He's a lightweight?
He was a welterweight.
Welterweight, okay.
Very complete physique, conditioning was fantastic, tiny waist, which welterweights should have, but real broad shoulders. This is a guy that, Lewis and I had said, like, is he going to jump into the USAs? And, as we had talked, it doesn't mean he's going to win there, but I definitely think this is a kid that could be a contender at the USAs or the Nationals and possibly place top 5 in a first outing there.
Because I don't even know when the last time we saw a welter or a lightweight or something. I tell you what, not only do you have to be outstanding,
you have to be outstanding.
But you know what it is, Don. I mean, those guys look great. And then you go, man, I don't know, man. He could be. And then they come out, and it's like,
so boom,
boom, boom, boom, boom.
You put them inside 200.
There's a big difference there.
There's a big difference, So it'll take a phenomenal physique, of course, symmetry, and just crazy condition, and of course other people will have to be off, because when you're going against a guy, once again, maybe 250 pounds, and if he has a decent shape, he doesn't even have to be even as ripped as the smaller guy. So
Well, this is the very impetus of why we put the 212 into the pros.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a huge difference when you talk about the age-old debates come up. Flex Lewis needs to go in the open and this and that. It's like, look, I love Flex Lewis, man. I think he's a great 212 champ and will probably go on to win again this year. Unless somebody comes out of the woodwork or he comes in off. But there's a huge difference between 212 and 250.
Dennis Wolf.
Yeah, and standing next to Big Ramy, you know what I mean?
The funny thing is, you go back and look at a Sean Ray at 210. It seemed like he still would do pretty decent, but once again, it has to be that phenomenal type of shape and of course condition along with it, which I don't think, honestly, in the 212, you just don't have that kind of body that can, So I think
Sean, given all due consideration, was Sean Ray. I mean, he was outstanding. He was one of those guys.
Exactly.
And he was still a light heavyweight. I mean, he was not a welter or a middleweight or even a lightweight. So I mean, you got to give him his just due. And Sean was one guy. We haven't seen that duplicated since Sean. So I mean, you get your occasional. I mean, you're talking 2 guys now that we just wrapped up in 20 years. So all right, on to men's physique. Superman in board shorts, David. How's it looking out there?
It looked good. Normally when we do these wrap-up videos, I have a few names to pick out, and I certainly don't want to not give these guys credit for the hard work they put in. I did not see... I don't know that I saw a single men's physique competitor that came out that instantly jumped out as that guy is ready to jump right into the pro ranks and do well. We see, I saw a few at Junior USAs earlier, just in May, and we see them at the USAs and Nationals. Again, a lot of really good competitors, and there was a lot of depth. A lot of these guys showed up in shape as usual, but I was watching all the weight classes. All the guys come out waiting for that one guy to really pop out, and I just didn't see it.
Well, the only guy I knew is Javon Walker. Now, the only reason I know that is because obviously being a football fan, we know he's a former NFL All-Pro, phenomenal athlete. He's jumped into the NPC, tried to get that pro card. I thought he looked good, and I tell you what, Steve, I mean, they were in the last class. I think it was F. And they were out there for 10 minutes. And they were turning and turning and turning. Then he moved a couple guys around. Then he was in the middle. Then he moved him out. Then he moved them back. But he's the only guy I really know.
Bigger guy?
He was a big guy. Red shorts.
Second biggest guy. Okay. There was one one guy in the men's physique.
Well, no, that guy was ridiculous. I mean, there was a guy who was 8 feet tall in there. I don't know. I'll see him tonight on the stage, but hopefully we don't need a light bulb change. He'd be my guy, but he's got to be 7 plus.
I think he's 7'1".
Good Lord, man. But no, Javon was in the middle, and he had the red shorts on.
Okay.
He looked good. I don't know if it's the best Javon I've seen, but it might have been enough here. But like I say, he's the only one coming in that I know of that's got any press behind him, and all that kind of stuff. Good enough to get to the pros?
Like I said, I'm with David. I didn't see any. I mean, to me, it was a really great, huge state show. Honestly, quality-wise, you expect. Honestly, you come here, you see it definitely died a little bit as far as the men's physique goes. Because normally you come here, you see some really good bodies and really good hair and everything. You just didn't see that whole thing this time. I didn't see that polished, pro that would come out of here and jump, like I said, jump right into the pros right now. So it was just decent for me, So.
All right, well, finals coming up tonight, guys. The finals on this stage, 6 o'clock start time. We'll see if the predictions come true. We'll see if we got a giant killer on our hands, or if one of those heavyweights, of course, comes out to win the title. I can tell you this right now: this show can be the catalyst for a great career. It was for me. It was for a lot of guys that came out. The Junior Nationals kind of started it all. My first cover shot, Muscular Development, 1987, from this show, from the Junior National Championship. So,
and his hair was great.
And the hair was still there. All right, that's going to wrap things up here. We'll be back after the show tonight for the wrap-up. For Don Long and David Baye, I'm Bob Chick.